GDP, Gross Domestic Product. It's big. How big? Try $16 trillion and growing. And while GDP may be the biggest thing BEA produces, it is only one of 15 sets of data accounts that are released either annually, quarterly, or monthly, and just about half of them, 7 to be exact, are released quarterly. Producing something as big as the GDP isn't a snap either. Though often quoted as such, GDP is more than a single number. Rather, it is an array of expenditure and income data collected by BEA directly and through other government agencies such as the Census Bureau, the Department of Agriculture, and the Federal Reserve, and from sources in the private sector comprising a flow of economic variables over time spans of years, quarters, and months, often referred to as time series. Even in our technically sophisticated world, it still takes about 100 economists, accountants, and specialists crunching 2 million data items over the course of a year, while creating some 10,000 time series each month. That's a lot of work. GDP is not the be-all and end-all summation of the human condition in our country. It cannot and does not purport to be the whole measure of our nation's welfare, but it remains the best quantifiable measure of how one key element of our human condition, the economy, is growing. It is, if you will, a summary of how we are doing economically. GDP is one of the most comprehensive and closely watched economic statistics in our nation, because it is critical for monetary, fiscal, and public policy and business investment decisions. It is used by the White House and Congress to prepare the federal budget, by the Federal Reserve to formulate monetary policy, by Wall Street as an indicator of economic activity, and by the business community to prepare forecasts of economic performance that provide the basis for production, investment, and employment planning. The GDP is drawn from accounts known as the National Income and Product Accounts, or NIPA, which cover most aspects of our economic life, including personal consumption expenditures on durable goods, such as home furnishings, large appliances, and motor cars. Non-durable goods, such as clothing, food, and fuel, and services, such as housing, utilities, healthcare, transportation, eating out, and hotel and resort accommodations, just to name a few. On private domestic investment, such as fixed investments including non-residential structures, equipment, and intellectual property products, and on residential investments, along with changes in farm and non-farm inventories, as well as export of goods and services. Also included is national government spending on defense and non-defense items, along with state and local expenditures. Quite a mouthful, to say the least. But wait, that's not all. On July 31st, BEA posted its 14th major or comprehensive revision of the NIPA tables and GDP. This comprehensive revision included some important firsts, such as counting artistic works and research and development as capital investments that depreciate over time, instead of being treated as one-time expenditures. These changes follow an international GDP standard known as the System of National Accounts, and many experts agree this may be the most significant revision in 14 years. Or, as the Atlantic magazine put it in a recent online article, one of more than 50 written in advance of the revision, this stuff is a really big deal, and an increasingly important part of the modern economy. To accomplish this really big deal, BEA revised more than 300 NIPA tables, revised and published 4.5 million data points in our interactive tables and revised over 50 million data points stored in our central processing system in order to publish the 4.5 million data points. But why go through all this effort? The revision reflects the economy's quiet transformation from one based principally on industry and manufacturing to one decidedly based on knowledge and information. The revision helps BEA make sure that GDP, as an indicator, doesn't fall behind today's economic realities. And while this comprehensive revision added just less than $560 billion to the U.S. economy as measured by GDP, it didn't cause a large percentage jump in relation to earlier GDP measurements, because this comprehensive revision covers all NIPA data going back to their start in 1929. Think of it in terms of how things might have changed had the U.S. actually adopted a metric system a few decades ago. The whole number would have changed, but the relative difference of actual amounts measured over time would have stayed the same. So watch BEA, because we've made some really big changes.